If you welcome, welcome. If you enjoy the uh, talk today, or for any reason, please consider joining as a member of the Institute for Clinical Translational Science. Membership is free and gives you access to basically weekly information about what's happening around clinical translational science, both here at UCI and in the broader community. The link to become a member is in the chat. So please feel free to go ahead and click on that link and sign up to become a member. As I said, it is free. I also want to thank Rachel Verisco and Robin Zender, our two community engagement unit staff. If you have any questions, either today or down the road, please reach out to them. You're welcome to chat them here. They're also on the website, and you can find their emails there. There will be a survey at the end of today's talk. It'll come up, we'll put it into the chat a couple times. Please make sure you do complete the survey. It's important for our records, but also we share this feedback with our presenter, and they generally really love hearing the positive and constructive feedback that you might share with them. It's an important part of how they improve and continue to grow as scholars and as community engaged representatives. So welcome again, one more time. I am so thrilled by our presenter today, Dr. Dawn Bounds. Watching her career as she's been here at UCI grow has been one of my favorite experiences here. Dr. Bounds is an associate professor at UC Irvine Sue and Bill Gross School of Nursing and a board-certified psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. As the founding director of the Centering Youth and Families for Empowerment and Resilience Lab, which the acronym is CEFR, so cool, she leads groundbreaking work that puts families and communities at the center of health research and care. Nationally recognized for her contributions to nursing science, Dr. Bounds has been named a Fellow of the American Academy of Nursing, one of the profession's highest honors. Her work focuses on creating equity and culturally responsive mental health care for communities that have historically been underserved or marginalized. What makes Dr. Bounds' approach distinctive is her commitment to authentic community partnership. She works with communities, and the work that she's done working with the youth of Orange County is just incredible. And you're going to hear from some of these really amazing voices as part of this presentation today. Integrating innovative methods like storytelling, art-based approaches, and technology to address the lasting impacts of adversity. Her research and clinical practice are dedicated to building resilience in young people and families, preventing substance use, and breaking cycles of intergenerational health inequity. Dr. Bounds brings both deep expertise and genuine partnership to her work, believing that the strongest solutions come from listening to and collaborating with the communities that she serves. So today's presentation is entitled Project Revive, Building a Youth Action Research Team, YART Resilience Empowered Villages in Virtual Environments. So welcome, Dr. Bounds, and welcome to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you for that invitation. Really excited to be here. I'm going to start sharing my screen and get the presentation up and running. Can you all see my screen? Okay, perfect. And I'm going to set a timer because I get super excited talking about this. So as Dara mentioned, we're going to talk about the Youth Action Research Team and how we built that for Project Revive. I'd like to start off by introducing the YART members that are with me today. So I'll start with Vesper. Vesper, go ahead and give the audience your name, what grade and school you're going to, and let us know what grade you were in when you started working with Project Revive.
Of course. Good morning. My birth name is Lauren Espanola, but I go by Vesper. I am currently a senior at Dr. Richard A. Vladovic Harbor Teacher Preparation Academy in Wilmington. And when I joined Project Revive, I was a sophomore.
Thanks, Vesper. And Coy.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Coy. I'm currently a second year English student at Irvine Valley College. And when I first joined the program, I was a senior at high school.
Thanks, Coy and Marcos.
Hello, my name is Marcus, and I'm currently a junior at Sage Hill School. And when I first started Project Revive, I was a freshman.
Thank you so much, Marcos. All right. So I just want to start off by giving some acknowledgments. The project that we're going to talk about today was funded by the Betty Irene Moore Fellowship for Nurse Leaders and Innovators. And also, I want to thank the rest of the Revive Youth Action Research team. So the three that are here today are part of a larger group. There were actually 8 that worked with me for this project. And so I want to acknowledge the work that they did and also the project team members from the Cypher Lab that were able to support this project. And so Project Revive was a project that had lots of different moving parts and pieces to it, but the main purpose was really for us to take some time and explore the impact that the pandemic had had on youth mental health, particularly adversity, risk, and resilience. And we really wanted to understand their current strengths, their needs, and any protective or risk factors that were contributing to their health. We did that through a secondary data analysis of the ABCD study, which actually surveyed over 11,000 youth. And the reason why this survey in particular, or the study in particular, was important for us is because they collected data before the pandemic actually started. They collected data throughout the pandemic and they continue to collect data to date. And so it was a unique opportunity to really see how youth were doing throughout that time. The second phase of the project was to actually recruit and train a youth action research team to co-design a study that would then help us contextualize the data that we saw in the secondary data analysis. And so that is going to be the focus of today's presentation. So I know the burning question that many people are asking is really around IRB, right? Like, what did it take to get IRB approval for a study like this? And the strategy was actually unique. What we did was we actually did 3 different IRB applications. And so they were separate but interconnected applications that we got through the IRB. And so the first one was a secondary data analysis because I'm sorry, was exempt because it was publicly available data. So that part, pretty easy. The second two, we actually were able to get expedited reviews, but they were, challenging and unique. And the IRB they were great. The team was great. They were able to walk us through the entire process. So the second one was a IRB application that focused on the duality of the YART members because they were researchers and participants at the same time. And so that was phase 2 IRB application. And then the third application was actually for the focus groups that the youth were then going to go and co-lead out in the community. So we were recruiting additional youth out in the community to be research participants. And so we did a third IRB application for that. So who did we recruit and how did we do this, right? We actually were able to reach out to the organizations that we were working with for our research. And so we reached out to youth serving organizations in the community and said we were looking for youth. Actually, colleagues here at UCI helped share these applications. And so we had lots of folks share that we were looking for young people to partner with for this research project. We did a application process and we were actually able to recruit 9 total youth. I think originally I had planned for maybe, I don't know, 5. And so we actually over recruited because we didn't know if we would be able to maintain like keeping the youth throughout a 1.5 year project. And so we recruited 9 and over the time we only lost 1 youth and we lost that youth due to extenuating circumstances. Not that that youth didn't want to participate anymore, but had moved really far away and just wasn't able to participate. So really proud to say that there were 8 youth that worked with us. And so to give you a little bit more detail, we had lots of accomplishments. We started January of 2024, and as I mentioned, we ended up with 8 total youth. Those youth at the time were ages 14 and 19. We trained the youth, and they trained for almost 2,000 minutes. They helped us design a semi-structured interview guide for other youth. That focus group semi-structured interview guide had 17 questions. The youth led 5 focus groups in the community with 27 youth at 3 different community sites and one on Zoom. The youth analyzed focus group transcripts with over 300 minutes of qualitative data. And the youth also submitted 86 reflective journals, and they created 1 digital storytelling project. So the plan today is really to hear from the youth. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about the study and the project. And so the first question that we're going to ask the youth today is, what does Project Revive mean to you? And we're going to start that question with Vesper.
All right. So, to me, Project Revive is an opportunity to really understand what my peers are going through today, because we all go through struggles. I have had my fair share of struggles, and I'm going through some right now. And I feel like it's really important to understand what the people around you are experiencing so that we can all be more empathetic and more understanding, and we can all work to be better as people and better as a society.
Thank you so much, Vesper. Coy, what about you? What does Project Revive mean to you?
I think Project Revive was my first opportunity at doing anything like this in a professional, I guess, field. Because I've always been, in high school, there's really not that much opportunity or not a lot of things that, a high schooler could do. So Project Revive just kind of opened my eyes to this new world of like research and possibilities that I could do. And it was learning that I, like, as a high schooler, I had, the skill set um, to, do actual professional work.
Thanks, Coy. I definitely didn't know like research was this big of a thing in high school. So for sure, appreciate you saying that. And Marcos, what about you? What did Project Revive mean to you?
Uh, I think for me, it was a little bit of both what Koi and Vesper said. Like, I wanted to gain like perspectives from like other people about like something that we all went through. But I was also like a really unique opportunity for me to like get my foot in the door for like research because I'd always wanted to like do something like that, but I wasn't really sure how I would go about it. So like it presented itself as like a really unique opportunity for me to actually like, get into like the nitty-gritty of like research and see all like the different processes and like the work that go into it.
Thanks, Marcos. And your commitment, I mean, Marcos started with us his freshman year in high school, right? And is still a part of the Cypher Lab and attends our lab meetings every week. So I appreciate that commitment, Marcos. So the next question is for Coy. Coy, can you share a little bit about why youth or YAR is better than just adults conducting research on youth?
Yeah, I definitely think the main benefit that we have from having young people conduct a study on, young people is the perspective that we get. Because I think a lot of the times when I do read like research articles or I read articles about youth mental health, a lot of the, I guess, findings that I see, it just doesn't really resonate with me. And then I'm kind of thinking like, is this person doing research on youth or no? And it just feels like it doesn't really connect with me. So I feel like having, younger people there to have a say on it makes the data more, I guess, real and being able to have empathy, like, because I feel like, younger people tend to be more empathetic with our population. I think that just makes the data more real and it makes it resonate better.
Thanks, Koei. I mean, that's what we're aiming to do as scientists, right? Like, get the as close to the truth as possible. So the next question is, how did you feel included or a sense of belonging when participating in Project Revive as a YART member? Vesper.
So for me, I felt really included in the project through like just the time we had at the start of meetings. We don't get to see each other very often, but when we do get to meet, we usually had like a small like chunk of time just to like have some icebreakers, play like a quick game to warm us up and then like talk to each other. But then even beyond that, Dr. Bounds had this roster that she sent out, and we would fill it out, and it would have our name and like where we could be contacted through like social media or our phone number or email. And for some of us, I know for me, I took the social media of the other YART members and we just kind of followed each other. We catch up every now and then. And I think being able to connect not just as research partners, but um, as colleagues outside of the project was very fulfilling for me. It felt like this was a real team.
Thanks, Vesper. Marcos, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's the same for me, like especially like the 15 to like 20 minutes we'd have at the beginning of every meeting, like they would have like food laid out for us and we would just like, eat and like catch up because the meetings would happen every month. So it was just like, catching up in our lives. Like, I mean, we all changed so much from where we started, so it was really cool just to like see each other like progress as like researchers and also just like individual people as well. So it's just like the 15 minutes of just like, catching up with one another and like seeing how we're doing.
Thanks, Marcos. And Koi, what about you? How did you feel a sense of belonging when you were participating?
Yeah, I guess for context, when I first joined the lab, I had thought like research was something that was so like foreign with, a bunch of professionals and they were all wearing lab coats and looking at flasks. But I think when I went into the lab for the first time, I just saw a bunch of young people my age. And a lot of, I think it was the icebreakers that really helped me because I really hit it off with a lot of people. And then it made me feel like research was something that was more like reachable. It wasn't, this foreign place. And research was about studying real people and most importantly, studying with real people, I think.
Oh, I love that. And I have to admit, sometimes it was really hard to get us to like transition from that social time into actually the work. But it was really cool to see like, because you all didn't know each other, right? Like, so over time, there was like you all get just more comfortable with each other and the social time would like grow. And it was cool to witness that. So the next question is about the training. So Vesper, like what training did you receive and did you feel your training adequately prepared you to conduct research?
Yeah, so the training that we received, you can see an example of it there, but we received like two kinds of training. One to be IRB certified youth researchers, and then another kind of training that we did during the meetings just to like prepare ourselves for the actual research in the project. So the city program training, as you can see there, it's like it's kind of like Canvas in a sense where you have like modules that you need to complete and then you have like a test at the end, and if you pass the test then you'd get the certification. For me, I feel like this kind of prepared me because I don't have AP research at my high school. There was never a research class or anything like that, not even at the college that we go to for dual enrollment. So I was just trying to like dip my toes in the water, get a feel for what it's like. And I feel like this really opened my eyes as to how to conduct research ethically, how to get like authentic data and how to really like analyze it. And then the training that we did during the YART meetings, which kind of bleeds into the next question. But the training to like practice doing focus groups, I felt like that also helped me a lot.
Thank you. So let's go ahead to that next question. And Vesper, continue. Share with us like how you actually co-designed the research project.
All right. So with co-designing the research project, it was a bit difficult for me. I remember the notes we were just like brainstorming a lot of just even how are we going to get the data. We took a bit of inspiration from previous projects that Dr. Bounds had done, and we decided on doing focus groups with the youth to get data from a wide array of people, and having enough data for it to really produce like conclusive results. We started by practicing these like focus. We did mock focus groups. Um, and we brainstormed what questions we were going to ask in the focus groups by like analyzing um, adversity in youth through the ABCD study. We analyzed what could possibly affect the youth and their childhood, like drug abuse, like familial abuse, or just circumstances at school. And we asked each other questions um, on whiteboards based on those points of adversity. And we began to expand on the ones that we really liked, trying to relate them to the COVID-19 pandemic. And then we created our set of questions for the focus groups. And then we began to like create cheat sheets like this one on the screen to really begin recruiting and help guide us in the project.
Thanks, Vesper. So yeah, literally you all were involved from start to finish, right? Like you co-designed the research, you created the interview guide for the focus groups, you were involved in recruiting the youth that we conducted the focus groups with, and then you conducted the focus groups, analyzed the data, and we're writing up that data now. So let's talk a little bit about how it actually was to lead the focus groups with other youth. So I'm going to start with Marcos. Share with us how it was for you.
I think at first, like we had done a lot of training leading up to actually conducting the focus groups. Like we'd held like mock focus groups with one another where we'd have like two people, like one like main leading and one kind of helping. And then there would be like two people that would be like, I guess um like problem like they would like be problematic and like try and like shift the conversation or something. But even after we did all that and I felt really well trained, it was definitely like really nerve-wracking leading up into like my first one. Like I didn't really know what to expect because it was getting a little too real for me. But I think after the first one, it felt like, it kept getting easier and easier after that because like, I kind of sensed like a bit of a pattern. Like, I mean, there was a structure, but it definitely felt like more familiar after a while.
Thank you so much, Marcos. Yeah, so we actually had two youth co-lead each focus group. And what we would do is then take one of the experienced youth from that focus group who had led a group and co-lead the next group with the next youth who hadn't led a group yet. And so Marcos co-led a group, his second group with Coy. And so then it was Coy's first group. And so there was this process. And so they would actually trade roles as well, right? So when you were the kind of second co-facilitator, you had a different role than when you were actually leading the group. And you really led the group when you had the experience. And so that was kind of our process. So, Coy, tell us how it was for you.
Yeah, definitely. I want to agree with Marcos that it was really nerve-wracking entering that room and then seeing a bunch of, people and they're all looking at me for, I guess, direction and I don't even know what I'm doing myself. Well, I do know what I'm doing, but um I want to say that I think it really required a lot of like critical thinking skill, which we had practiced we spent like I think 2, 3 sessions, like literally just sitting there practicing uh our skills on leading focus groups. And I think it was we mentioned we had a page with 17 questions that we were going to go over. Obviously, we try to stick to it, but it's not limited to that. I think it was a lot of asking follow-up questions. You hear what the participants have to say, and sometimes the follow-up questions are more important than, the actual questions that we put on the page. I think the biggest key takeaway though that I learned was learning to be comfortable with silence. I think that was the biggest thing. Like I'm that type of person that just likes to just jump in and give in my own 2 cents. And I think like I remember Dr. B having to remind me, like literally every single meeting, she was just like, Koi, you have to wait. And it really took me, forever, but I think I really got it to my system to just wait and just be comfortable with silence and yeah, have answers come up.
Thanks, Koi. You are definitely taking me back to all the role-playing sessions that we had, which were actually really fun because we definitely had like people play problematic focus group members, and so you all were challenged, hopefully enough that you felt prepared when it was, time to do it for real. So, Coy, share with us how you felt and what you learned about the data analysis process.
So honestly, analyzing the data, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat, it was quite difficult because, like we said, there was around 300 minutes of data that was transcribed. So it definitely took me over 300 minutes to analyze it. I think though, when you kind of break it down to the core, it's a lot simpler than what it seems. I guess the best way I can describe it is, like an English class, when your teacher gives you a passage, you kind of look for common themes and you kind of look for common ideas and topics, and then you list them out. Well, the difference is that this is like 10 times the amount of work that you have to do for an English class, I would say. But to really break it down, it's just that simple. I think this was really about communication for me because I had worked with Sienna and I had also worked with Yasmin as well. And this was not, during any of the training sessions. We had to do this on our own time. So I think it was definitely learning how to manage my time and how to, communicate effectively with my group mates to give us, all of this data.
Thanks, Koi. I mean, you three really stepped up as leaders for this process, right? Like you took it and you owned it. You all learned how to code data and deduce, right? A software management system. And then you all actually worked together independently to build the code book. And you would have to come to the meetings and present your code book to the rest of the team. I'm probably giving you flashbacks right now, Koi, of like all the different parts and pieces. And for a while, we were like talking and discussing, and things were just still not like gelling. And then I remember we started creating like this like visual, and I felt like that was the the turning point for us when we were able to like put all these circles on the board and really start to like visualize what were the youth talking about and how can we group what they were talking about into these themes. And so I feel like this visual really represents where we were like, oh, this is what we're seeing and this is what was happening. So you guys really emerged as leaders during that process. So what things have you done to share your experience and your research with others? Marcos, tell us about this.
Yeah, so when we were going into like the latter half of like our time with Project Revive when it was still active, there was like we were trying to think of ways that we can like, share our experience with like maybe other like youth our age who wanted to like get like put their foot in the door for research. And we also wanted to put out there for some like information about like maybe investigators like principal like who wanted to conduct research with youth. And so our solution to that was we made like short form videos for youth our age who want to get involved with research and just kind of like, laying the groundwork for like they if they might want to, like just letting them know some of the details that they might not be like exposed to. And as well as this, we presented at the UCI Face conference. So we basically we explained a lot of the stuff we did right now, but we also talked about our like individual and growth as a community as well, and how, we felt a lot more comfortable like, expressing ourselves, and it all led up to eventually like us presenting our findings and presenting how we grew as people and also as like researchers.
Thanks, Marcos. Those social media videos are my absolute favorite. We called it the legacy planning that we did. Like the youth really wanted to leave something behind. And of course, I keep reaching out to them for other opportunities to do things like today. Um, but the UCI Face presentation, I was like so proud. I was beaming with pride in the first row as you all presented your experiences and the work that you had been doing. So thank you for that. So the last question I have for all of you is, what final advice do you have for researchers who want to study young people? So I will start with Vesper.
So the main piece of advice that I have for researchers who want to study young people is just to be more open to what they have to say. I find that, like similar to Koi, a lot of studies that focus on young people kind of make generalizations, and it's not completely accurate to what I've seen among my peers or what I felt myself. And I feel like if you want young people to be more honest, you need to be more understanding and more open to what they have to say, because I feel like the main generalization is that for youth, we're all like angsty teens, we're all hyper focused on social media, and we have it so much easier than the other generations. But I find that there's a lot of struggle going on in Gen Z. Gen Z has one of the highest rates of depression among all the generations. And if you want to really capture what's going on and represent us accurately, it'd be nice to be more understanding of what we have to say and really like take what your research participants say and think about it like if you heard of it from one of your peers. Try to relate it to what you hear from the people around you. And I think that would make the research more authentic.
Thank you. That word authentic definitely keeps coming up. Koi, what about you?
Yeah, I really agree with what Vesper has to say. I think it's really to like look at us and have mutual respect for us and seeing us as, equals. I feel like a lot of people sometimes maybe undermine younger people because of our age, but I think that, this research really wants to look at young people and wants to study young people. So I think that, like we are young people, so, we have that information. I feel like a lot of the time we just kind of, our ideas get disregarded, but I think it's seeing those ideas and interpreting it, um, like respecting our ideas. I think that's the most important part. And it's not just about what can, researchers learn about young people. It's about what researchers can learn about themselves. I think that's the main point of research. It's learning about not just other groups. I think it's what we can learn about ourselves. So I think that's my biggest advice.
Thank you, Koi. I feel like I needed the mic drop emoji like inserted right there. Marcos, final words of wisdom from you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both Koi and Vesper on what they said. And I think that like research and like youth research and like research as a whole can benefit from having youth voices. because it's always good to have like a fresh perspective other than the ones that have been perpetuated like over and over. And I think just having like the fresh like youth like they always have like ideas and like you know new things that to be said. And I think it's really important that researchers see youth eye to eye and really see their opinions and yeah.
Thank you, Marcos. I mean, if I could summarize what the three of you have said, it's really that you all ha absolutely have something to offer, and that researchers can actually partner with you to understand what you all are actually going through, but not only understand it, you can actually problem solve and strategize side by side to come up with solutions for your generation. And I think the last thing that I will say is that you all are clearly capable of doing so. Perhaps some researchers underestimate youth's capability, but I think today all three of you and the YART as a whole has demonstrated you're so capable of doing this and so much more. And I just want to thank each of you for your leadership today. So with that, we will open it up for questions. We wanted to make sure we had plenty of time for questions. So I'm gonna stop sharing. All right.
Thank you for such a beautiful presentation. Oh, look at all of the questions coming in. Before we move to the first question, I just want to say that having you all come and speak gives me the best hope and the most excitement for the future, for us as a country and as a nation, as a world. So thank you so much. I am literally like filled with goosebumps. So thank you. Amira, would you want to kick us off with your question, comment?
Sorry, Dara, did you say my name? Amira? Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dara. So yes, thank you so much for this amazing presentation. Honestly, it was very motivating because my name is Amira. I work for a nonprofit organization, Access California Services, and we serve underserved families, including youth. And many of our underserved families are actually newcomers, immigrants, and refugees. And we really want to tap into the underserved youth from those communities and actually kind of do what you already did so successfully, is like build some sort of youth action network where the youth create a survey to really assess the needs of those youth. So I hope that this can actually get done. But I just wanted to tap your brain a little bit more. I know you mentioned with your outreach and recruitment, you went to youth serving organizations to recruit these youth. Like, how did you do it? Youth are so hard I feel like, to build that connection with. Like, what was said? How was the encouragement done to really get them on board? If you can just go into a little bit more detail about that. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure, Amira. And I just want to say this absolutely can be done for a lot of different things that we want to know about youth, not just mental health, which is what I focused on. So I've actually helped some organizations like create youth action. I'm sorry, youth advisory councils for their organization. So I think there's like a variety of ways that we can see this work show up. For me, I'm a community engaged researcher, and so I'm constantly in the community building relationships and I try to create mutually beneficial relationships. So I have a large lab of students. We do volunteer work in the community, and we're constantly building relationships so that we actually show up and authentically engage. And so because of that, I was able to leverage those relationships to say, we want to invite youth to the research table. We basically created a flyer and then we distributed that flyer widely. So we distributed to our specific contacts at organizations where we had those existing relationships. As I mentioned, I have colleagues here at UCI that I shared it with, and they actually had organizations that they were working with, and they were able to share that um, information with those organizations. Shout out Stephen Schuler. Hey. And so it was really kind of a snowball effect of just kind of sharing through different networks. And the flyer, it was, like a typical like recruitment flyer for research. There were incentives. So
Okay.
the incentives were on there. We fed the youth at every meeting.
Mm.
Um, but what I found is the youth like really they were interested in the experience. And so I think that I had a postdoc for the project and we were able to get some additional funds to actually collect data from them. And we haven't analyzed that data yet, but I think hearing from them today, we can hear that they also benefited from it just as much as they contributed.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you. Jessica, nice to see you. Do you have a question?
My question, hi everyone. My name is Jessica Ardo. I work at Chalk Children's Hospital. My question was really similar to Amira's, but I can certainly uh, shift a little bit. I think I wanted to ask a little bit more about what kept you engaged in the research. Oftentimes, the research that I do, we struggle to keep folks engaged, throughout the project. And especially when you're so busy, when you're a student, when you're a young person, and you've got so many other activities going on. Um, I don't know, Marcos and Coy and Vesper, if each of you would share, what kept you engaged.
Of
I can
course. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. It was really difficult because when I joined the project, I was still a senior in high school. And then, right after it's college, you have a job and you go to school. And it was really difficult to, I guess, balance the time. But I think it was just picking the right participants. I think Dr. B really did a great job. And I feel like we all have our, commitment to the lab. And I've always been interested in working with mental health. And I think all of us here share that as well. So I think it's really picking the right people and make like I really think the thing that drives us all is our passion for research and, our passion for mental health.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of like the similar things. I find that a lot of us in the yard, um, most of my peers actually did like AP research or some sort of research thing beforehand. And during the meetings, we talk frequently about like what was going on in the world and like how people are doing. And I think just that commitment to making sure that the people around us are thriving is what kept us in the project. For me, I think another thing that kept me engaged was just um, the experience as a whole. Being a youth researcher is something you don't see every day. I know in my school, I know of no one else who got an opportunity like this. So to come across something so unique, but also that serves the community as a whole was just something I really wanted to grab onto and make sure I didn't let go of it.
Yeah, and I think what Vesper said at the very end there is like exactly what I thought. It's like Project Revive is such like a unique opportunity. Like it's kind of hard to pass up on, especially like once I got like accepted into like the like project and like I saw like in the first meeting all the other faces I'd be like going through this journey with. Like it's like how could I possibly like let go of this opportunity? Like this is so amazing.
I just want to add a couple of things that we did. So we had an application process, so the youth actually completed an application, and they also went through interviews. So we interviewed every youth prior to inviting them to be a part of the YART. We also did things like create community agreements that we checked in every meeting to ensure that we were still good with those agreements that we had made. And the other thing that was really challenging on our end, but I think was important, was we didn't have a set date for meetings. We actually scheduled the next meeting prior to ending the meeting we were in. And sometimes we weren't able to come up with a date. And so we did a lot of doodles and when to meets to really try to find the right time to get the majority of the youth to the meeting. we also had some youth that started locally and graduated and went away to school. And so we actually ended up having hybrid meetings for youth that we had one up in Berkeley, we had one in New York. And so we actually had to add Zoom as well to ensure that they can continue to participate.
Thank
John,
you.
what you've accomplished is so incredible. This is so, there's so many hurdles at UCI to have made this possible. I mean, even just hearing the three things you did doesn't even begin to describe the amount of labor that it took to lift up this effort. Um, I guess I have two questions. One's for our youth, and then one is for you, but it's too big. But anyway, for our youth, I have so many questions, but I'll narrow it down. So, why do you think that, or at least there's this belief that people don't trust science? What do you? How do you view science, and how has this experience influenced the view that you have?
For me, I view science as like an important subject, and it's knowing that you don't really know anything. Science is a process of questioning, of trying to understand the world and how we fit in the world and what we can do to better it. And I just feel like when you go into the realm of science, you have to, like I said, you have to understand that you don't know anything, and being more open to what other people have to say really comes together to broaden your knowledge and make you a better person as a whole.
I totally agree with what Vesper just said. You like really you don't know anything. I do want to add on though. I think coming from like an underserved community, I think a lot of people had that mindset that people are just the way they are and there's really nothing behind it. And I think that mental health is now finally getting, the spotlight that it deserves. But I think that in, previous generations, I don't think people really highlight mental health. And I definitely think with this science, seeing numbers and seeing like real results and seeing, dialogues and transcripts, I think it really makes mental health or it puts mental health into a place that like, oh, this is a real problem.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just like nowadays there's a lot of like, biased opinions and like people will go into something having like a predetermined mindset. So that will always like skew the data and like, people will have like like faulty like results. And I think that just like going into science with an open mind, like knowing that anything can like happen and just like, having that like mindset.
I'm like ready to get them into PhD programs like now, right?
Seriously, they're like, absolutely. I have more questions, but I don't want to be you know, so if you have other questions or comments, please feel free to raise your hand. John, this is a question that's really directed to you. Again, like I can't help but reflect on how hard it is to organize all this. Um, Maybe I don't know if it's a question or a comment, but really it's what do we need to know? How do we get started working with students? And do you have any um, willingness to mentor some of us faculty on how to build and I'm sorry, faculty and community. I mean, I heard, there's interest in the community too. Have you thought about how to build what you're doing, like build out? So um, that was awkwardly asked, but
The question that keeps me up at night, right? Like, yeah, I think doing this project, like I had 3 years of funding to do it, right? So the fellowship that I was a part of supported me as a faculty member and my project as well, right? So I had a chunk of money that was able to protect my time. and also fund the actual research, which is, a rare opportunity. We don't always have money to fund the actual work and the time. And so I I would love to expand it. I think what we've done is a model that I'm actually now trying to repeat. And I literally just submitted an LOI. I'm submitting a grant to say, I think we can do this with other topics, right? We did it and we really focused on moving online and social media. The next project is going to focus on AI, right? Because we know that young people are using AI and I need to understand how it's impacting their mental health. So, yes, I'm thinking about it. Yes, I think we're going to replicate it over and over and over again. I'm feeling like this is going to be my model. But also, yes, I also, support other people in doing it, right? Like I work with Project Hope Alliance in the community, and I go to their youth advisory council meetings every month. And so I've been doing that for the last 3 years. So yes.
Amazing. Olivia, I think you're muted though.
Thanks. Hi, nice to see you, Dara. And thank you so much, Dr. Bounds, and your youth research team for such insightful talk. I have one comment and one quick question. The first thing that I noticed was how all of the youth refer to themselves as researchers as opposed to like research assistants. And I just found that shift in language so powerful and really empowering that they are, obviously a valued member of your team. And I'm sure that was intentional. And I just loved hearing that. So just a little bit of background, I got my PhD at UC Irvine in health psychology a few years ago, and I work for a nonprofit doing research now in expanded learning. And so I'm really interested in considering like how we can maybe stand up some kind of advisory committee with parents and youth. But I'm curious about how maybe if any of the youth members want to speak to, someone had mentioned like critical thinking and if there were any specific training approaches in that or how you kind of like exercise that critical thinking muscle as you were, well, throughout your journey, like within the lab.
I think I was the one that mentioned the critical thinking skills. And I think it was definitely the trainings, like we said, I think every day it was like a 2 hour block that we would have with each other. And we did this around 3 to 4 times before we actually went out to the real, world and conducted our research. I think Professor Bounds really, really, really like taught us how to probe. I think that was the word she used to really probe, youth for additional information. I think um, like with the mock role play that we would do, we'd stick to the original question. I think that's what we would do. And then every time that the youth said something that we felt like was important, we'd kind of ask additional questions. I think it's seeing those opportunities, and it was really, I think, to sum it all down, I think it was all about the amount of practice we got, and I think that taught us like consistency with spotting, places where we can expand on.
Yes, I totally agree with what Corey said. And what I'm about to jump into is something a little bit more specific to me because I was a research participant in one of the other Cypher Lab studies, which is GRIT, um, which is, I think, garnering resilience in troubled youth and families. And I remember just kind of how the person assigned to me and my father tried to like understand our situation, like the probing that they did. And I was like, okay, so they're looking for this. What researchers are looking for are these kinds of responses, these like deep, vulnerable moments. So let's try to figure out how we can ask questions to get that in this project. I think for me, it was just understanding how it works on both the participant end and then transferring that to how it works as being the researcher and not the participant.
Yeah, I completely agree with both Vesper and Koi. And I think that just like um like research is like I think that like yeah, especially what Vesper said, I really like that.
Well, thank you again. Thank you, Dr. Bounds. Thank you, Vesper. Thank you, Coy. Thank you, Marcos, for your deep and insightful and wonderful presentation. This was probably one of the highlights of our Cherry meetings, I have to say. And thank you everyone for joining. Please make sure you complete the Red Cap survey. Those are just 3 questions that we will take that data and share with our researchers who presented today. And please remember, if you'd like to become a member, that link is much further up on the chat. And if you'd like to present at Cherry, we have a lot of new faces here. If you'd like to come and talk about the work that's happening in your organization or in your lab, please reach out. We're always looking for new voices to come and present. And let's just give a big round of applause virtually. Thank you so much. And we'll stay on for 3 minutes as people jump off to their next thing. Thank you all for joining today. Wow, that was so great. So great.
I could listen for another hour.
Me too.
Please.
And I have more questions.
I just want to say, Vesper, Coy, Marcos, y'all are iconic. The work you did was amazing. You presented so well and answered so many questions that I had before I even had to ask them. So thank you so much for taking time out of your Friday to come and explain your experience to us. It was really, really impactful. And the work you do is so amazing. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
And Dawn, I really like the format. I thought that was great. Like with the question and then having the 3 responses. It was really, and as my next question would pop up, I'm like, oh, I wonder, and then like, boom, it's like, no, okay, cool. So actually, as I was going through, I'm like, oh, she's like, literally, they're answering every question I have. So it was really great. Yeah.
That's great to hear.
I'm
beaming with pride right now with these 3. I'm just feeling really proud.
Did you feel nervous presenting?
And Marcos is like out of town right now, like, and here, just FYI, like he is in a different state and showed up, and Vesper took time out of school, and Croy's constantly working. Like we would have meetings while Croy was in the car. So like the commitment is really amazing.
I also want you all to know that I still get nervous when I have to lead a focus group or an interview. So unfortunately, it doesn't go away no matter how many you do.
Me too, FYI. And I've been doing this for 30 years. I still get nervous. So, because you never know. You never know where it's going to go. So,
and I'm also really bad at being okay with silence. I struggle.
All right, my computer is about to restart, so I may lose all of you, but Dawn, I'm going to email you after this. And thank you again. And thank you, Vesper, Marcos, Coy, thank you again so much for coming. It was a real pleasure. And I can't wait to see what your next work is. So please come back and give us an update.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much for the opportunity to for us to talk and like present what was going on.
Take
Yeah,
care.
exactly what Vesper said. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great weekend.
You too. Take care.